I'm not going to lie. I think we're going to win it.
Do you actually used to go around and be like, my name's Luke Henry? Oh no, double L, like winner.
Yes.
No, it's double L. Let's do it. All about Arsenal because, you know, we're going up and up and up.
I like that.
Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans Fanzone with me, Luce. I hope you're all doing good. As you can see on the screen, especially if you're watching on YouTube right now, I've got Luke Henry with me. I don't know why I say your full name. I feel like it's just something we've always done at work. And for those that don't know him, he's probably the most knowledgeable Arsenal fan I think I know. So if anything, I'm so excited to learn so much from you this episode. We met through TalkSport, which obviously is all about football anyways. And a lot of people are Arsenal fans, so I feel like it was just a natural vibe. But yeah, I really appreciate you joining me today. As I start all of these Fanzone episodes with the question, why Arsenal? So Luke, just chat to me. Why do you support Arsenal? Is it family? What are your sort of influences?
Well, firstly, I appreciate the intro. That's going to be a massive drop-off by the end of the podcast. As the most knowledgeable Arsenal fan.
I might regret it.
Yeah, you might regret that. Good question. Why Arsenal? I think there's a quite an easy one. There's a tapping of a surname that people refer to. I think I played football at 4 years old, and yeah, I was a striker. Everyone wants to be a striker. Everyone wants to score goals. And then when I think I brought my first Arsenal top, put Henry on the back, thinking my surname, and then people were like, "Well, what about Thierry Henry?" And I think it was just a little bit of a story from then on in. My mum's side are from Middlesbrough, so my granddad used to take me to Middlesbrough games at the Riverside, and I had the pleasure of watching Middlesbrough play Arsenal, and Thierry Henry scored actually an equaliser in a 1-1 draw and came running round sort of the Middlesbrough fans, and I went to grab and reach him, and then my granddad pulled me back, and I think that was the time we knew I was probably going to be an Arsenal fan for the rest of my life. And also, you know, I'm old now. I'm 27 now, right? So when I was at school, even though I lived in a Back in the day, a long time ago, when social media wasn't even, no, joke, it was around. I live in a Tottenham area, and even though it is predominantly Tottenham, like I have an official Spurs shop in my town centre that obviously I never go in, I never even walk past. I'm in the Tottenham area, right? But at school, it was predominantly Man United and Chelsea, the days of Sir Alex and, you know, Mourinho, and I used to go into school really upset because Arsenal used to lose like nearly every week away at home against the Big Six. But I never wanted to follow the crowd. I always liked to stand out and, you know, be something else. So, like, the fact that Arsenal were actually not doing as well as Arsenal should do as a big club actually made me support them even more at school. So I like to be, like, in a little herd on my own sort of thing. And then, yeah, just carried on ever since. And then I started going to games from the first season from 2014-15, and I've been going ever since. So, yeah, it's been a long 10 years, but hopefully this season it might all pay off.
I know, hopefully that pays off, you just firstly seeing Thierry Henry and being like, right, this is who I want to support. I was actually going to ask you, but you've sort of already led on to it. I feel like I heard you say this story at work, but when you were younger, did you used to say, because obviously your surname's Henry, did you actually used to go around and be like, my name's Luke Henry?
Yes.
Like, did you actually say that?
Yeah, I did. So, yeah, back to my mum's side of the family. So my grandparents have got a caravan in North Yorkshire. I used to have one. And basically, all I needed was a football. And there was a massive pitch, massive football court. Everyone knows when you go to these holiday parks, there's loads of football courts.
Yeah.
And used to be there for 7 or 8 hours. And I used to tell everyone I was their second cousin. His second cousin. I used to get my mum and my dad to play on the act. And what was great is that we've got a little holiday home in France. So all we had to do was show them a picture of the little holiday home in France. Say my second cousin. My name was Henri. And we were there, right? So, yeah, it was a joke, obviously. But
it's a shame you weren't editing and using Premiere Pro and everything that you are now, because you so could have just put you and him in a photo and be like, yeah, look, see, we go on family holidays all the time.
At secondary school, my nickname was Thierry. So when I left in 2015, I've actually got my leavers jumper that's got Thierry on the back. 15 for the year I left school. So it was proper, like, you know, he was like my idol. You know, in the PE changing rooms, I used to pretend I was kind of him. Used to wear thermals indoors and gloves and short sleeve shirts because I wanted to be Thierry, right? And I used to play striker. So when I used to score goals, which was a very rare occurrence.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Something like that.
I used to finish like Thierry, never used to smash the ball, never used to put my laces through it. It's always a little side foot, it was always a knee slide as a celebration. Yeah, I just wanted to be like Thierry. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, right?
And to be honest, your story, like, I just love, obviously, the uniqueness of that, like the surname and everything.
Yeah.
But I think supporting Thierry Henry and that being your reason why, I've had a few people on this pod already say that's their influence, and I feel like he is such an icon. And especially now with all the punditry and everything he does, it's so good to have those individual role models, if that makes sense. And obviously like representation as well. I think
Yeah.
it's so important. Like if you can see it, you can be it. And I think that's something that resonates with a lot of people, especially if you want to be a striker as well. I feel like that's, the glory hunter sort of approach. But take me back to like 2014, 2015, because you were saying you first started to go to games. But if none of your family actually supported Arsenal, how did you make that jump to go to games? Because I feel like, I mean, if I tried to go to games now and no one in my family has season tickets or anything, I feel like it's really tricky.
Yeah, so I've got no brothers or sisters. So when you're growing up, you as a parent, it's hard to speak about mum and dad, but as a parent, I think you can imagine that, is this a phase or is this going to be like a real passion? Because everyone grows up and plays football, but they might get to 10 and 11 and they might drift out of it. They might not love it anymore. They might find different hobbies or interests or whatever, right? I think I went the opposite way. I think as I started playing more football, I actually was watching all the time football. I was a bit football mad, a bit football obsessed. And I actually have a good memory. So I can remember players, I can remember stats. I used to go to parties with mum and dad, with their friends. And I used to spend more time with the adults talking about football than I did with people my age talk about football. They were like, he can chat football for ages and he knows what he's talking about. Never really thought about it. And then I used to go to the Emirates Cup, you know how it is, Luce, the traditional Emirates Cup that we all go to in the summer, because that was the only real opportunity to go. My dad was a chef. He was working all the time, and the Emirates is so difficult to get to. And, I was playing football on the weekends. I was also doing, people might not know this, I used to do dance as well. Again, just for the sake of trying to be just for the sake of trying to be a football player. So, don't know if you know this, but back when I was growing up, I think all the mains football clubs had some sort of ballet camp.
Okay.
And so put two and two together. If you want to be a professional footballer, my dad was like, well, look, these big clubs have ballet camps. And I used to do drama at a local drama school when they had a dance centre. Obviously, I didn't want to do it, really. And then they were like, no, you just need to go there for strength. And then I knew the football players did it, so I was like, right, I'm going to do ballet. I'll do anything it takes to become a professional footballer, right? But then I actually found myself doing tap dancing, modern, ballet. I gave it 6 weeks. I couldn't do it.
Oh, you didn't enjoy it? Okay, I was about to say this is really cool, like how you ended up getting into football, but
didn't enjoy it, but loved tap dancing and modern, so carried on doing it. But the dream was still to be a footballer.
Yeah.
And then I was playing a lot, and then I remember one game actually. It was an Arsenal game, but it was a West Ham game. One of my mates that I used to play football with and his dad, they're both massive West Ham fans, go back to the days of Upton Park. And he said, does Luke want to go to the game? He has to sit in the West Ham end and he has to shut up. Don't celebrate a goal, just be quiet, but he can come to the game. And I went there and it was just wow. Everything about it, walking up to the ground, getting in, seeing the atmosphere. I did it, like I said, when I was a little kid at the Riverside. But to do it when I was how old was I then? 10 or 11 maybe. We won 3-0. I remember the game. Someone can tell me. I think it might have been maybe when I was 12. But anyway, old enough to remember and understand what football was like. And I think that was the day where I was like, I really want to go to games. And my dad was like, right, okay, let's see. So then, a year later. So there's a long story to this, but hold on, because.
No, I'm so ready for it.
So, let's get this right. So I mentioned drama and dancing then. So in 2012, September 2012, I was in the West End. Yeah.
Sorry, why am I just finding out all of this right now?
Well,
this is so cool.
Yeah, I don't really tell people at work, right? Because it never really comes out. So,
yeah, I feel like everyone's just very much lads football culture, whereas this is really cool.
Yeah, there's a story to this. So I was in the West End, the UK tour of Oliver. It was a West End version, but I went to Cardiff, Manchester, Southampton, Birmingham, and Edinburgh. 5 places. Missed year 8 of school, right? So I did that, and it was really good. Best time of my life. Met friends for life. Lads were unbelievable. Came back, and then I was like, right, I want to be an actor. want to do this. So anyway, right, okay, want to be an actor. Still want to do football, but I felt like because I'd done that opportunity so quickly and it wasn't planned and it would just happen. Basically had like 2 auditions in London. Something I didn't really care about. I was like, oh, okay. Unbelievable opportunity, but it wasn't my dream. But then I thought because it happened naturally, maybe it was something I should pursue a little bit more rather than this football dream that I had. Bearing in mind that at this time I'd gone to Ipswich Town Academy for a couple of trials, never really got anywhere. Schools had all these centre of excellence camps that I was part of, but I was never really anywhere near, really looking back. You think you are, but you're actually nowhere near. So anyway, I did that. And then a year later, after I finished the tour, my dad didn't have a motorbike accident. And so it came like that. Like everyone was going really well, and then just one random Thursday morning, my dad had a motorbike accident. I thought nothing of it. I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. I was at school. Mum's gone to hospital, broke his leg. I think, all right, no, not the end of the world. Then apparently he was got quite a severe leg injury. Didn't realise the severity of the accident, and then the accident was really bad. But then unfortunately, in the hospital, he had an infection in his leg, which made he had to lose his leg and become an amputee. So that's what he does now. So how does that link to football, you ask? Well, at that age, I was like 14, so it was in year 9 this all happened. And then he was looking and thought, actually, instead of being on the season ticket waiting list for so long, there's an opportunity here to join the Arsenal waiting list for a season ticket as a wheelchair user. So every cloud has a silver lining. This is not a sob story, it's just great. Right? So then he got fast-tracked and we got 2 season tickets. Well, as in a season ticket for him, and he can always bring a carer with him, which was me. So that's when I started going with him. So great. So Champions League games, Premier League games, FA Cup games, many games we could go to, we went to. It was great. But as I got older, as I went to uni, I was like, right, he's helped me for like 2 years. I now want to do my own, have my own membership stuff. I did have my own membership, but I was just using his. But I was like, right, I'm going to work really hard now. So you can use that to bring his friends, his Arsenal friends, all his mates that want to go. So then I've had my own membership since, 2017. So it's been a long 8 years, still on a season ticket waiting list. People know how hard that is to go to Arsenal. But I've done my fair share. I've done home games, away games, European games. I've had the pleasure of doing that. So yeah, it's been a long journey, but that's how it all started. And yeah, it's when I first started, I was going on my own. So like that first year of 2017-18, I was going up to games on my own. Literally, I wasn't going to the pub because why would I go to the pub on my own? So I was literally going to the game, coming home, and then away games, I was travelling up, coming back. And then a couple of my mates that I've known for years were messaging me going, "Are you going to Arsenal games a lot?" I was like, yeah. They were like, "Oh, who are you going with?" I was like, "I'm going on my own." So like, welcome to come and tag along and join me, mate. Absolutely fine. And then, as a couple of mates from home did, I was at uni in Southampton. And then I met like a little Arsenal community then, some of my best friends that are now. So we started going, and they met my mates from home. And now, like, 6 years later, after COVID especially, there's just been a lovely group of us that have all come together. Like, my mates from home, mates from uni, and then other people's mates have all come together. And now we're a lovely little group that have known each other for about, longer than everyone else, but maybe someone's 5 years or 6 years. But it's really good. And some people from work as well have joined, so it's been great, right? So like that's the beauty of football, because we've all come from different sort of ways of life and avenues, but we all come together every week now, and to go and watch the Arsenal play. But it is really nice, and I don't have to be there, for example, which is even like sometimes if I'm not there or I've got to do something, my mates can still, like my mate from uni will go and meet my mate without me being there, because now they've got a great friendship. And that's what I really love about it. So we have this little community, little group chat, which is great. Yeah, it's nice. And that's the story. So it's, do you know what I mean? There is a football element to it, but it's meeting people you go. And this, I always say this to people when I talk about football, is that we always talk about Arsenal on the pitch, but this podcast especially is all about how you resonate with football and what it means to you. And it means a lot to me because it's a family away from a family. We all say it's the cliche, but there is an Arsenal family, and you see the same faces. You might see same faces. I remember seeing one lad used to see all the time, and just used to nod my head at him all the time, just say, "Oh, mate, how you getting on?" All the time. And then one day we actually started speaking to each other, and then we were like, yeah. And now we like message and everything and see him at away games and whatnot or home games. And it's now like a mate. Do you know what I mean? And it's and that's just starting from the same face you see regularly at football. And yeah, long story, but that's
No, honestly, I thank you so much for just opening up about all of that. Because I feel like there were so many different tangents to it, but it all comes back to, like you said, this identity that Arsenal have with bringing people together. And no matter your background, your story, you all can sort of just find the mutual love for the game. And honestly, I love it. And I was going to ask you about how you came to know all the people near you and that you sit with, if that makes sense. Because I think for me, I've sort of done this more with the women's side, but I just sort of would turn up to a few games with my dad pretty much at the beginning, and then suddenly I'd slowly be like, oh, like this person said hi to me, and then you'd message them, and like that's how you build it up. And I think that's what is so unique and that's so nice, that basically Arsenal I think all football brings it together, but obviously we're gonna pick up Arsenal a bit more on here. So that was just so interesting. And I feel like you mentioned as well your memory with Arsenal and your memory with football as a whole, and I think that's why I always say you're like the most knowledgeable footballer, knowledgeable fan.
I wish I was a footballer, Luce.
You know what? I'll just say you're a footballer. Most knowledgeable dancer, whatever you want to be. But yeah, you've got that knowledge, and I think that is definitely like it resonates with obviously so many people you chat to at work. I'm like, wow, this makes so much sense why you want to work in that industry. But I want to know how like you took maybe the confidence from being on the stage to being like, right, I wanna go into maybe working in the media, working behind the scenes. For me, the first experience that I had with you was TalkSport, so I assume that's where your journey started, but I'm sure that's probably not the case. So when did you first make that transition in your head to be like, right, yeah, I want to work in this?
Do you know what? I actually remember it quite well. So after doing I did Oliver, so I did the tour and it was great. And, you know, I was very grateful for the whole experience and the opportunity. But I kind of knew I wanted to be some sort of presenter. That was kind of thing. So even though I was like, you know, a really good part was Fagan's gang, by the way. So if anyone's seen Oliver Twist, I'm literally one of the little pickpockets, little Fagan's crew, right? Which is great. It was honestly so good. I had such a great time. But I kind of knew I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be the main guy. I wanted to be the presenter, or you know, welcome everyone in, right? And I remember being at school, and my drama teacher, who happens, funny enough, used to be a scout for Manchester United, but that's another story. But
That's
anyway,
so niche. That's who you know.
By the way, I didn't find this out until like back end of year 10. I had no idea. But anyway, I actually remember it was him, and he said to me, he was like, "Oh, you know, you're confident, you love your football, and you love drama. He said, why don't you just combine the two?" I was like, "Yeah, but how do I do that?" He said, "Well, you can become a sports presenter. You become a media presenter." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that was when the alarm bells sort of went, "Oh, sports presenter." And then I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "People you watch on the TV, that's how you can aspire to be them." So I was like, "Right, okay." So I was like, "Right, that's it then." Clocked. I was like, "Right, I want to be a TV presenter. I've got it now. I kind of understand what I want to do." So went to look around the colleges, recent local colleges around here. So, like, if people want to know, Harlow College, for example, that's where I live, so near Tottenham area, Hertfordshire, Essex way. So, looked around there, and there was a couple of fast track things and stuff. But then my mum and dad were like, "Do you know what? I understand you want to rush and go into it, but you need experience. But also, it might be worth you going and doing a degree and going to a university instead." So I was like, "Oh, okay, we'll have a look." And then I went to Southampton Solent University and had a look around there and looked at the equipment and the facilities they had. And it was for what I wanted to do as a journalism degree, a multimedia journalism degree. It was unbelievable. And I came there and I told them what I wanted to do. And I was quite, you probably know me, I'm quite straight focused. I kind of tell you what I wanted to do and I want to achieve that. So I was like, "No, I want to do this. Is this course going to help me? Is this course going to benefit me?" And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll learn news, you'll learn photography, you'll learn the law of journalism, you'll know how to do TV, you'll know how to use radio, photography. And I've purposely missed out the word radio because I had no experience or had no real knowledge of radio in terms of wanting to work in it. I'd obviously listened to the radio, listened to TalkSport, as we all did, but it never really was like, Don't know, because no one sort of showed it to me. I never really thought that was a possible avenue. I didn't really understand it, right? So I remember going into uni for the first month I was there. So I joined uni in 2017. Goodness me, this is terribly old now. So I did that. I joined in 2017. And within the first month, I went down to... I remember, actually, in one of my first courses, we had an introduction to radio. And we literally sat in a radio studio, in a radio booth, and we spoke. And we basically pretended we were doing the bulletins. And I was like, is this... They were like, yeah, radio. You're speaking to a mic. You chat all the time. It's great. There's more to learn by that, but the basis of radio is just going to have...
The foundation of it, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I need to explore this a little bit more. So I went down to my radio studio at university, Radio Sonar it was called. I think it's still called that now. If it is, I hope it is. And I said, I want to do a football show. And they were like, all right, great. Who with? And I said, yeah, I'm only first year. It's October. I haven't really got or made many friends just yet. But I said, I'll do it on my own. And they were like, right, okay. A bit weird. But yeah, fine. So they gave me a 2-hour show, 10 to 12, Luke's Football Friday preview. And I used to sit in the radio studio for 2 hours and just talk about football into a mic. I used to have a break at the top of the hour so I could play music and news just so I could go to the toilet because I was just literally in a studio for my own.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I used to literally sit in a mic, sit there and just talk Arsenal. Then I used to do all the games of the weekend and then all the talking points. And I used to just sit in a studio on my own for 2 hours and just talk football.
Wow, that's actually so cool that's where it originally started.
And then I was like, right, I want to be a radio presenter. I was like, I want to do radio. So then radio was the focus. So then I changed. I started listening to TalkSport more, like critically and understanding how to do it. Mm-hmm. And then as I went during uni, started doing the show, people were listening. I say people, like parents and family and friends were listening. But the people were saying, like, how on earth can he sit in a radio studio on his own for 2 hours and just talk football? I used to talk about every other club. And it was like, oh, today's news, I don't know if you've seen this, whatever. Lots of prep. And then, lucky enough, I met some lads on the way, which was really nice. And now, again, we're really good friends. They jumped into the studio with me, helped me out.
Nice.
And then I was like, right, we can take it up another level. So I was like, right. So then we all got to know each other really well. Then I was like, right, it's time to do a Saturday show. So we used to do something called Luke's. No, we used to call it, what do we call it? Saturday Sports Show. Didn't call it Luke's Saturday Sports Show.
I didn't have your name in it. Oh,
no. We had Luke's Football Friday preview and then the Saturday Sports Show. But the Saturday Sports Show was like, kind of like of what you try and see on the TV and the radio.
Yeah.
We had like you're around the grounds. Now, obviously, because of uni and the rules and the laws, we had to be quite clever. So what we used to do, we used to send one of the guys out. He used to drive, had his car at uni, so he used to drive to a non-league ground, and we got to Sholing in Southampton. I used to ring him, and I used to put my phone to the mic, and we used to give you non-live, uninterrupted commentary of a non-league game, and then I would be back in the studio. Then I'd give you the scores. We'd have a little chat in the studio. We'd bring you back to Matt, who was doing commentary at the non-league game at Sholing. So we tried to make it as good as possible. We had a guy in that was who loved his cricket. He'd give us cricket updates if we needed. So I had a little team. So it was really, really good. Really, really good fun show to do. But we were learning at the same time. We were having experience. We were trying to basically do a Gillette Soccer Saturday, just a rather uni-like version. But it was great. But we learnt a lot doing it. And that's how it all kind of started. And then obviously during my course, then I became really like driven to be like, right, I need to go and work in the sports industry. That's what I need to do. I need to put my head down and get there. So I had a lot of experience at uni. And that's, if people are listening to this podcast, or when they do listen to it, and people might be aspiring to go to uni, I've got to be careful because I don't get people in trouble. But uni is great. I would always recommend you go to university because of the life skills you learn. Being around people and doing things your own safe. And if you leave your bedroom in a mess, it will come back. It will still be a mess and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because I got a 2-1, and I remember the feeling how I felt when I got a 2-1. Now, I'm not saying anything like 2-1 is really good, but I was gutted. I wanted a first. My aim was to get a first. I wanted to obviously just be the best, right? And a few people got a first, so it really annoyed me. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't like the fact. I thought I worked harder than a few people as well that got a first. They were more naturally gifted in terms of journalism and writing. I wasn't. I was more natural in front of the camera, per se. So I thought my career was kind of finished before it started. I thought, oh, no one's going to look at me because I haven't got a first. You have to, again, at uni, they do put you on this precious cycle of how important it is to achieve a good grade. However, with journalism, you've got the beauty of experience. Now, if you're polite, if you're professional, and you go and meet people and you tell them what you want to do and you come across the right way and you have some experience on your CV and you may have a 2-1 like I did, you'll be fine. You will be fine. So my advice would be say yes to everything, be polite, be professional. But when you leave uni at the end of the 3 years or wherever, you've got to think that there is so many thousands of people that want your job. Having a first may stand out, but if someone's got a 2-1, but it's gone there, and there, probably shows that they're willing to get off their feet, they're willing to work for free, and they're willing to learn. Whereas you've got someone there, and it's really bad because that's the world we live in. We judge lots of people by something on a piece of paper, which I don't agree with, but that's probably what they look at. So that would be my advice.
No, definitely. I think also, just to echo that, I think my experience with uni as well is it's great if you're getting like high grades in all assignments, but then you leave uni and so many people in my class left it without any experience. And I'm like, somehow it makes it very chaotic. Like the 3 years, I was like, I don't know how I managed to fit in everything, and how some of my friends, like we were just trying to be here, there and everywhere, like you were saying, but you've got to somehow manage to fit in getting that degree, which is great to have. Doesn't matter the grade as long as you've got the experience alongside it. And just the way you're talking about the beginning, it's literally, it just seems like maybe a smaller scale of TalkSport. And at my uni, we didn't have a radio station or anything like that. So the fact that you took it like upon yourself to be like, right, I don't know many people right now, but I'm going to build this community. And it's almost reflecting what you did with Arsenal as well, with the fans. You're like, right, I'm just going to go to games with my dad, and it starts as just us two, and then suddenly you've expanded out to this big group and this community. And I think it's credit to you as well, like what you've been doing, how you are as a person. I think it's just, it's really nice to hear. And I'm just so intrigued how you then managed to get from that, like doing that radio at uni, to then how did you become working at the biggest sports radio in the world? Like that, was it a simple jump because you had that experience, or was it a lot more grafting in between?
Partly both. I always believe in the mantra is what you put in is what you get out. So I do look back on uni, because some uni courses are, very laid back. What I mean by that is that people won't mind me saying, like, you might be only in 3 times a week and you've got your whole weekend, and you may have a couple of days during the week to do absolutely whatever you want. I have to say my journalism course wasn't like that. It was quite full on. I think it was good 4 days a week, maybe 5. And I remember, I was doing the shows. So I was doing a show Friday, I was doing a show Saturday. At this time, I was regularly going to the game. So my weekend would be a show Friday morning and do some uni, then Saturday show, and then Sunday would go to the game, come back and do some work if I needed to, and then Monday I definitely remember being in. Wednesdays was the big one at uni. It was Newsday, and Newsday. It was a long day.
Wait, describe that to me. I have no idea what Newsday is.
Oh, so Newsday was basically when everyone got together, first year, second year, and third year, and we all worked together. And it was really, looking back, it actually was great. It was basically to replicate what it would be like in an industry. So we'd get in about 8:30, and then we'd all be put into groups that had been assigned, and we'd be tasked with stories that we needed to do. But we needed to report back because we had a bulletin at 12 and we had a bulletin at 4. So we needed to go out and maybe do a live, maybe had to go and conduct an interview for a radio bulletin. So we had TV bulletins going on, radio bulletins going on. It was all in essence to work to a deadline. So you might come in, for example, I don't know, and say me and you have been put together in a group, and we've been tasked with, I don't know, there is a development going on in the Westquay shopping centre. So we'd be going down there and going, right, okay, we've heard this as a story. Maybe I would record you, film you. You'd be doing a piece to camera for the 12 o'clock bulletin. And then maybe at 4 o'clock, we'd be joined by, I don't know, someone that is organising the redevelopment, and we might do a live. Great experience.
So you'd actually go out to the places?
Yeah, wow. So a lot of what I, because this is why I love sport and football, so a lot of what I would like to do is like to go to St Mary's. So we were a 10-minute walk from the Southampton Stadium. So, in fact, I have actually got a little funny story, actually. So there was one day where I went down with someone on the camera. I was doing a live. And I think it was when Ralph Hasenhüttl had just been appointed as Southampton manager or something along those lines. But anyway, I remember it quite well because it was pouring down with rain. And I see a Sky Sports presenter coming towards us. And I'm in awe because obviously they don't know me, but I definitely know who this guy is. And I'll name him. His name's Mark McAdam. I'm sure you won't mind me naming him. So I'll shout him out. The reason why I say that is because he came over and he was really, really nice. And he said, "Oh, hello guys, how are you? Are you part of the BBC or anything?" And I was like, "Oh no, we wish. We're literally two uni students. We're just doing a piece to camera and a live view." And anyway, he was like, "Oh, you crack on, no worries." But I was like, "No, if you need to be here," because we were outside the stadium. He was like, "No, gosh, no. You need to do what you got to do. We'll crack on. We'll watch the professionals in action." Anyway, he did his bit and whatever, and we did our bit. And then we were chatting, and I just said, "Look, I'm really keen to do what you do. If you got any advice," and he took the time to get me the number. I took his number, and I was in contact with him back and forth just for advice. So he let me. I showed him my presenting skills there and then, gave me some tips, gave me some feedback, and he actually stayed in touch. And then in my final major project for uni, he helped me conduct an interview with Marvin Sordell. So it's really nice. And I know we might touch on this, but recently I've been going on Sky Sports News.
You have.
And he has seen me and he remembers me. We stay in touch. And he was like, "Good to see you again." And it was really nice, really, really nice moment. So from that day on at Southampton all the way to now, yeah, he still remembered me.
That's such a nice, full circle. That is literally a definition of a full circle moment.
Yeah. And that's the thing. One of the other things about full circle is that one of my mates who did the show with me, he now works for Sky Sports. And obviously I saw him last Wednesday in the office. So we used to do the radio show together back at uni. And now 5-6 years later, one of us is at TalkSport working with Sky, and then he's at Sky full time as basically the equivalent of basically setting up at work for TalkSport. He does that same job for Sky. He does all the football stuff. So that was really, really nice. That was a really, really nice full circle moment because, I was saying his name is Jack, and we've nights out together. We've gone on holiday together. Lived at uni. Well, not lived at uni, but because he was a year below me. But basically spent all our time together at uni with the boys. So he was he's one of my best friends, and we've always, and I think the thing is, we're so like-minded in our group because we basically, kicked each other up the bum a little bit and said, "Look, guys, if we want to get to where we want to be, we have to put the work in." So we had to basically push each other at the right times because it is difficult. But that was a really nice moment. It happened last Wednesday. So that
is honestly,
really
I love all the stories you have. I feel like you're always full of stories, but these ones as well, I'm like, they're so new, but they're just really wholesome.
The thing is, I don't really feel like they're stories until I tell someone, because I think the beauty of the friendship group I've made at uni was that we're all very like-minded. We're all very keen to work. And also, Luce, I'm not going to lie to you, we don't really give ourselves too many pats on the back. Purely because...
Which you should.
Yeah, but I think it's because we're not really... Sounds bad to say it now, because you do look back and go, "Oh, you've done quite a bit," but you're still not satisfied as where you are. Because there's still that place of where you want to go. Till you get there, you'll kind of chase it. But I feel like I've gone completely off track.
No. I was going to say, talk to me then about where you want to be, because I'm looking, I've wrote down a few things of obviously you're working behind the scenes at TalkSport.
Yeah.
You do feature on air every so often. Obviously, I was vision mixing the other night and you were talking about the North London Derby on air, and I was like, this is so cool. So you're getting those in-person experiences in front of the camera as well as obviously on radio, which goes back to your roots. Then you're also obviously featuring on Sky quite a bit. Recently you're on Game Changers, which is a new show on Colourful Radio, which you and Anil was someone else who obviously works with us at TalkSport. It's so good to see you guys getting that experience and getting your flowers, because you deserve it. But from all these things, are you still I want to either make it more consistent, or there's something else I want to do? Because that you're doing it so well, everything you're doing right now, you're sort of, I don't know, you're doing a bit of everything, it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like it. It's a difficult one because we're talking about, we'll probably talk about it a little bit more later on, but then the top I've got on, and this podcast is about Arsenal, right? Do I want to work for Arsenal? Yeah, there is always part of me that thinks, full circle, do I go and work for the football club? But then at the same time, I always think, do I just kind of want to balance that and have a little bit of separation? The dream would be to talk.
Stay a fan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I am a fan, and
Hmm.
you know the reason why I've been lucky enough to go on Sky Sports News is because I'm part of this new app called Fanalysis, and it's about fans giving their opinions or giving the perspective of what it's like to support that club as a fan. So you know I take that quite big, you know, the opportunity because I'm trying to represent the fan base and how you feel, and I am a fan first and foremost. Even though I do this, we do this for a job and we love it. I always have been a football fan. I love that. So I don't know whether I want to completely lose that essence of me or do I want to just change it a little bit. So I have to think long and hard about, because if I did work for the football club, it would be every day, and then my hobby is also going to football. So it would be 24/7 non-stop. Right now, that sounds unbelievable because we're doing really well, but football changes and goes in cycles. And I'd still love the job, but I do love talking about other things like football and jumping on podcasts and having conversations like this because, funny enough, actually, when I first joined TalkSport, it's very hard just to get yourself regular shifts, and I found that quite difficult when I joined. So I was like, I'm going to do a podcast, just to show I look busy, to keep doing something. And my podcast was Project Conversation, it was called. I think I did about 8 episodes in the end, but then I actually got some more shifts at TalkSport, and then I realised actually I can't do this anymore, so it's fine.
Can't juggle.
But it was the podcast that keeps people talking, and I always had to relate it to the guest. And the reason why I did that is because everyone's got a story to have and a story to tell. Not everyone gets the opportunity to share it. So I remember, for example, my mate came on who is a pilot, which is,
That's so cool.
yeah. You think we do a cool job? He's a pilot, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
I was like,
I might just quit now, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this is unbelievable. I had someone that came on, and you know, one of my other mates who came on, you might know him. He's been on my social media a lot because he looks like Saliba, and he does look like Saliba. His name's Curtis, but he's done really well, and he's got a football business. So he spoke to me about the perception of doing football at uni because he did football studies, and people look at him and go, "Oh, you just play football." When actually, when you explain the course, there's a lot more to it. So he did that, and I had someone else talk about the pressures of being a teenager and talking about just being a productive teenager with the stereotype that this generation is lazy. However, there's people that are really working really hard. So just variety of things, whatever the guest wanted to talk about, we talk about.
They're not necessarily like sport based or Arsenal based, just
If you wanted to come on and talk about football, you could have. If you wanted to come and talk about something completely different, we would have done that. Because it was good, because I don't mind talking. And that's the thing with, you know, when you ask me where I want to be, I'd love to talk about football, but I wouldn't mind talking about... I've always thought I'd love to sit down and interview the players, Premier League players, but not specifically about a game that's happened last week. I would like to talk more about the journey, like you're doing kind of now, like to tap into the person behind the person, right? Like, you know, I just, for example, Saka always springs to mind. Eze as well, but Saka, because Saka's 24, right?
yeah.
Like, he's people think he feels old because he's been around for so long.
He's so young still.
He's
It's
still
crazy.
young.
It's actually crazy.
So, like, I tap into sort of his journey. Not about, do you think you're going to win the league and stuff like that, but like, what is it like to be Bukayo Saka and the jump and what he's had to go through. And Eze, you know what I mean? Like, Eze especially, I spoke about this earlier in the week, Sunday and yesterday actually. He's 27 and his story about being released at 13 and 14 years later working to get, not even to score a hat-trick in a derby, but just to put the shirt back on as an Arsenal shirt, you know. I can't imagine what that must have meant for him and his family, right? So you look at that and think that's a journey. And I kind of go, well, he's at the same age as me, living his dream. I want to try and live my dream. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to talk to players about that, about their journeys. Obviously, you can actually talk about it, but as long as I'm talking football and in front of a mic, I think I'll be quite happy.
No, I feel like we're so aligned. Like
We could do a show together, right?
Yeah, honestly, you know, what should we just call it? Luke's show still? We're just still...
No, just call it
Luke and Lucy's.
Luke and Lucy, double L. Don't call it double L because that sounds like it's a loss.
Yeah. Well, no, double L, like winner.
Yes.
No, it's double L. Let's do it. All about Arsenal because, you know, we're going up and up and up.
I like that. That's good, that. It has to be in vision, obviously, because if people hear it, I
was going to say, if you're listening on podcasts, we're actually doing like W's right now.
Yeah, W's, not double L, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. You know what, we've copyrighted that, we've
So
claimed
we'll work on
that.
that, yeah? Right,
So that's our vibe for the future. But no, honestly, it's so aligned, like everything you're saying. I'm like, you actually could just do the intro or the blurb. Wait, what is this mug? I
My
support
mate got me
Arsenal.
this mug. It says, "I support Arsenal, and this is the only cup I'm getting this year." He brought it to me when we weren't very good, but now I
Nice.
think, hopefully this year.
Humble beginnings. You've got that's a good reminder to be like,
Mm.
yeah, this is. I personally probably wouldn't show it around now because I feel like we hopefully can get our hands on an actual cup this year. But obviously we'll talk about that in a bit. But I think everything you were just saying, it's so true, and it resonates a lot with me because I think why I did this podcast was because, like you were saying, you want to find out more about the person. And we've been speaking for about 30-40 minutes and we've mentioned a few players and a few things that have gone on, but we haven't even got into the tactics and stuff because for me, I'm like, it's so important to find out your journey and to find out how you got to where you are now. And like you're saying, you've done so much, but there's still so much that you can do. If you look at Eze's career, he didn't think that things would slowly spiral like that. And with you, even in the last, I want to say probably a few months since you start doing more work with Sky, even just then, you've probably picked out about 3 full circle moments. And I'm like, this is really encouraging because then hopefully in the next few years, there'll be even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a bit of a surreal start to the season. Talking about myself, I didn't expect.
Yeah, forget about Arsenal.
And that. Well, kind of, because I kind of knew we'd be quite good actually at the start of the season. I have to be brutally honest. But yeah, it's been a bit weird. I didn't expect to be doing. The app for analysis has been great, but one thing they did, which I thought was really good of them, is to say there was potential to have media opportunities. Like it wasn't a guarantee, and I think that's quite good because you don't want to sell someone a dream before it's never going to happen. So you think, okay, maybe 1 or 2 that might be great. And I was lucky enough to be invited down for the Premier League show in the studio, and that was been selected for that, and I thought that was it was a big opportunity. So that was at the start of the season. So I kind of was like, okay, that's great. I've had my little time there. I've had my moment. That's great.
I remember you coming to work and you were like, yeah, it's a one hit wonder.
Yeah.
It's a one
Okay.
off. And I was like, no. Like,
I was like, well, I'm not quite sure. I was like, they haven't said, oh, you're only going to get you every week, or whatever. So I was like, that's fine. They've got other people to accommodate. No problem. I've had my bit. Really lucky to be in the studio. So it's fine. And then, I actually went on yesterday and I realised I think it's been 8 times this season so far I've been on.
Jeez.
And I couldn't do a couple of them because I was at the game. So to be asked that many times has been quite great. And obviously that's coincided with work at Talk Sport at the moment. Like you said, I've got a show that I've had meetings with and put together with Anil for, I think that's coming up to 8 shows now, and that's great. And we've got a team behind us that's so invested, and it's a really, really fun show. We'll have to get you on. And
love to.
oh, more than welcome. And that's why, that's kind of the beauty of what we do. The show is called Game Changers, and it's kind of what I just said to you there. It's like everyone's got, a story, but everyone's got so much talent in the office. And sometimes I don't think they're able to showcase that. And I think that our show gives us that platform where, we can talk to our guests, not about the sport they want to come on to, and we can bring you in and chat about Arsenal or whatever, but we can also chat about the work you're doing because, you haven't been, in quotes, you haven't been at TalkSport long, but you already feel like you're part of the furniture because everyone sees you every day and the work you put in, and we know, and I've seen how hard your job is. I don't think I could do it, so, you're very good at that. And your journey, and I think I remember speaking to you in a talk. I can't remember when it was now, but I came in and did a talk with a few people, and you were in the.
No, you know what?
room.
Before this pod, sorry, I'm just gonna cut you off that because literally that reminds me. Before I started doing this, I was like, when did we actually first meet? Because normally in the intro, I might be like, oh, we met here, and obviously I just said through work. But I remember it was like through someone just suddenly put my email forwards to Yaz. And then Yaz emailed and said, just come to this open day. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know what this is. I remember going into the news building, which obviously is where you have all these big radio stations, all these big companies. And I just remember being really scared. And I walked up and I was just like, what is going on? And then there was you, there was Maya, there was a few other people.
Yeah. Romario, I think, was there as well.
Yeah, I think Romario, yeah. And I just remember being like, oh my God. And like you came up to everyone, it felt like. Well, I remember having a personal chat with you anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just so nice. Like, if this is what the people are like, I want to work here.
Yeah.
So obviously hats off to you. But yeah, that feels like ages ago. That was probably about 13, 14 months ago. So.
Yeah. And that was the thing, even then, like, for me to even be asked, it was pretty weird because, it's nice to know that work value as a trusted member, right? And I just think, like, if you're nice to people and you respect people and you tell people what they want to hear, like, some things, you have to hear, but, like, I wouldn't have done that if I didn't feel like it was a great place to work. And that's that's the trouble with any job, really. You can have a dream of a certain place or an industry, wherever it is, of where you want to work. But unfortunately, if you go there and maybe the majority of the people aren't what you think they are, and they actually turn out to be not nice people, it doesn't matter where you work, you aren't going to enjoy your job as much. And I think the beauty of the office we have at TalkSport is that you see what it's like when the football banter comes out and everything. It is quite funny, and it is quite a good laugh. But at the same time, people do put their work in, and when we have to work, we will do that. But we enjoy our job, right? So it's easier to do that. And I always say to people, there's a difference for me. There's a difference between having a job and having a career. A job is where you go there, you do your job 9 to 5, and you forget about it. I think when you're doing this you're doing this on your day off because it's a career, it's something you're passionate about. I'm working later because we want to do it. We work later.
So there's no 9 to 5s in this.
and that's kind of the beauty, right? There is no 9 to 5s, and sometimes you can have a day of editing in the morning, and then sometimes you might be going to do an interview, and then on a Thursday you might go, do you know what? I'm going to chill, and then maybe something comes up. You go, actually, I'm going to go to this event. Kind of the beauty of it. So, yeah.
It is true. It is true. And just to wrap up the part of your transition, basically from being a fan to working in it.
Yeah.
What are some of your highlights? What's the favourite thing? I'm assuming a lot of the highlights have probably come from the last few months, if I'm being honest, like what you said at the start of the season. But why do you love it? What about it do you love? It's a big question, I feel like.
It's a good question because I just remember being in the office and just because I talk about it, I don't know how I come across sometimes, right? So when I'm in the office, I just talk about football as a fan, and when people say, "Oh my God, you are very passionate about it," then I'm like, "Well, I just feel like I'm like an everyday fan, right? I feel like I'm no different." And I feel that it's nice to get when management pull you to a side and they're like, "You do know what you're talking about, and you're very passionate, but you can articulate yourself quite well. Do you want to jump on air and stuff like that?" I do apologise, the food shopping's coming.
Food shopping.
Food shopping, Sainsbury's time. So I think a highlight is just being people see something in you to give you opportunity first and foremost is quite nice. When you just be yourself around the office and your passion comes across for everyone, that's really, really nice to have. But yeah, I just think, the highlight is just, it is being able to, I'm not being cliche, but it is nice just to be able to be working in the industry you want. It's very weird that I was in yesterday and people saying, "Oh, I saw you on Sky Sports yesterday throughout the day," and I'm thinking, why? Why me? Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's that's really, it's nice, but you just gotta seize the opportunity, I guess. And I think another cliche saying is that everyone sees the destination, but sometimes you just gotta do the journey first, right? And I think the highlight is just the journey, because now, like you said like I've done a lot. I feel like I've only just started. So whether that's a good thing or not, whether that's a bad thing, I don't want to put people off by saying that. But it feels like it's what the work I did at uni, the experience I gained, doing things for free. I haven't mentioned that I used to had a placement at Chant Athletic, for example. So that was great. I picked up the phone, and that's another thing. If everyone's looking for experience, you've got to work for free. Pick up the phone, because some people just pick up the phone and go, "Look, I can do this, I can do that. I can come into your football club for a week or a couple of days if you need me." And they go, "Oh, okay, well, let me know." That's what happened. I picked up the phone to Charlton. They were like, "Yeah, come in for a week," and then that week became another week, and then another week became a little placement. Come back after uni for Christmas. Then I went to watch them play at Wembley in the playoff final when they beat Sunderland 2-1. So, and then and that was a placement. That was another bit of experience on my CV. So I guess the highlight is just working in something you want to do, I guess, and obviously supporting Arsenal along the way is not bad.
No, literally, and even just then you're talking about something else, and then suddenly new experiences you've had. That's the thing. I feel like everyone's gone through so much experience, but especially what you're saying, I'm like, wow, there's so many different opportunities you've taken. You've working in so many different parts, and I think that's why you're such an all-rounder. Because when I was making notes, I was like, okay, So you present, but then you also do audio, but then you also do that. And I was just trying to navigate. So for you, it's so good because you've got so much experience that it's almost like you could pretty much pick what you want to go into next. And obviously with these opportunities coming, it's really good. I'm also going to have to make a note of all these quotes you're saying. Maybe next time I'll have them on the wall or something. But no, I love a quote, and I feel like it is so true. It is all about the journey, and I think that's a nice way to look at it. Like the highlight is what you're doing now and what you've already done and what you will do. It can be all of that. It doesn't have to just be certain moments.
Yeah, I don't want people to get confused and think, oh, it's been quite an easy journey. It hasn't, and I won't lie to you. Like, we love our job, and everyone has like those tough days. But those tough days mean like sometimes we come in at 3:00 in the morning, we're back in the next day, and that's fine. But sometimes I'll be lying if I said I didn't lose not sight of it, but I thought, is this ever really gonna happen? Like the main dream, like is this gonna be it? Like I'm gonna be in the industry, but am I ever gonna get to that point where you really talk about football? And that's the thing. Like I've wanted to, again, I look at Eddie Nketiah's quote when he scored against Norwich, bringing it back to Arsenal. Why not?
Of course.
But people think he said that a real big quote was like, people think it took me 15 seconds to score my first goal for Arsenal, but it took me my whole life. And I was like, well, yeah, people think I've been, in the industry for 5 minutes, but I've actually known I wanted to do this since I was 16. So for me, it's been like nearly 10 years, maybe just over 10 years of working towards that. And at that time, you're still not sure whether you're going to make it. So yeah, it's tough, but like I said, from the summer, things can just take off, like in a good way. And I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't. I really, really wasn't. Even to have more opportunities at TalkSport as well, talking about Arsenal a lot more on TalkSport 2 and stuff. And, like I said, being on Sky and having the show. Like, I didn't think I'd have the show. I didn't know about the Sky appearances. So it can happen. It can happen when you're least expecting it. But you've just got to have a bit of self-belief as well. That's one thing. I've realised that a lot. If people can tell you how good you are, and I can tell you how good you are, for example, and you are. But if you take this, you leave this podcast and actually go, oh, he's chatting rubbish, and put yourself against it, then you won't go anywhere. You don't have to. You have to have an inner belief. You don't have to go around telling everyone you're brilliant. It's just like deep down you go,
you're going to do something.
I can do that. I can do. There's nothing wrong with saying that. That's how you sort of, especially in our industry, it's probably how you're going to get somewhere. So I got told, no one's going to go and give it to you. You have to go and get it. So,
if I'm being completely honest with that, I feel like I needed to hear that, and I feel like there's probably people listening or watching needing to hear that, because I think we all have those moments, and I feel like recently I've sometimes been in and out of, am I in the right position? Like, is this what I want to do, or am I always going to be doing just this one role, or should I expand out? And I think there's always these question marks, and they can get so overwhelming. And I think especially when you said waking up at 3 a.m, I think for 6 months I was doing all those early breakfast starts, and I just remember whenever I'd see everyone, I'd be like, I'm sleepwalking, I'm not here. I loved the job. When I was doing it and I was zoned in for those 3-4 hours of the show, I was so loving it. I was loving everyone I was with. I suddenly would leave work at like 12 p.m, 1 p.m, middle of the day, and I just felt like I was sleepwalking for the rest of it, and I didn't feel as present, whereas now I feel like shifts have changed and things change like that. So it's definitely, like you were saying, the journey's never going to be, oh yeah, you do this job and then you go to the next one. So I definitely do feel like that will help hopefully a lot of people, like you just saying that, and obviously seeing how you've turned it around as well. But also, it's the sad reality is it's not going to be plain sailing from here on out either. Like there's going to be different challenges you're going to face, different rejections and stuff. They always happen, but because you've already got the skills you've already had to deal with that. I feel like you've already got the skills that if anything else pops up, you can be like, okay, that's...
No, for sure. And also one more thing I'd say is that something I've learned is that don't have year plans, have your long-term goals and targets, but don't put an age by them. It never worked. And I did that, built up far too much pressure, self-pressure. Then you feel like you're failing. Then you feel like you're nowhere near it. But really, we've got a long time in this industry. Well, people don't realise it, but we are very, even though I don't feel it, and I'm not joking, but like 27 is like, well, scary now. In terms of the pressures outside of being in your 20s, right? People are settling down, people are moving out, people are doing this, that, and the other. 20s is really confusing, right? You know what to do. However, a lot of people are probably, I don't know, but maybe some people are in their 20s, they're stuck in a job that they don't really want to do. They feel like they can't get out because they feel like they've got to, get the money in, and because they've got, rent, bills to pay, or, in different things, or maybe a family to look after, and that's absolutely fine. I've still got a dream to chase, but I'm pretty sure if I, at 20, maybe thought, by the time I'm 27, I'll be here, there, and there, and there, and there. Probably not. I'm nowhere near it. But actually, what I am now is absolutely fine. And even if I get there, even if I'm not there when I'm 30, it's not the end of the world. Things will happen. It's good to have your plans of what you want to do, but by 28 I'm going to be doing this, or by 20, it doesn't actually work like that. It doesn't, because no one could tell me at 27 I was going to be doing this, or do you know what I mean? So
honestly, you've actually just got to ride the wave. You just got to see where life takes you.
Have your goals and have your dreams, and that's absolutely fine. But don't put a target on them. When they happen, they'll happen, and they'll happen for the right reason. That's what I believe now, anyway.
I was going to say, if there's anything that anyone's taken from the last 50 minutes, I always say try and take one or two things from each episode, basically. I feel like that's the thing I'm going to take, because I'm very much goal-orientated, but I put pressure on myself, and I'm like, I'm 23, but I thought by the age of 21 I'd be doing this. And it makes you feel like you're not where you're meant to be, but you're obviously where you're meant to be. Like, everything always lines you up for that. And then maybe if you didn't get that one thing, it's just because it's redirecting you. So I feel like if anyone's going to take anything, definitely just focus on what you're doing rather than your age, because honestly, everything you said there, Luke, is perfect. I actually can't believe that we've literally been yapping for nearly an hour.
Yeah.
And we haven't even mentioned properly the North London Derby.
No, we haven't.
So I feel like we need to talk about that. But to be fair, I feel like this is exactly why I do this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think anyone can have their opinion of, everyone knows Eze is unreal. Everyone knows that it's all working out for him now, and he's had to go through all that hardship, through getting rejected from Arsenal, doing amazing at Palace, then coming back to Arsenal, potentially Spurs, then scoring against them. Like, I think his whole journey, people can have that opinion, but I think what you've been talking about, that's so personal to you that no one can be subjective, no one can repeat exactly what you said. So I'm happy we've spent that amount of time talking about all of that. But obviously, this is the Arsenal Humans Fanzone, so I want to talk more about Arsenal. And just, I'm sure you're going to mention, obviously, the North London Derby in this answer as well, but just talk me through this season so far, because I think everything Arteta's been doing has been setting up until this moment, and I'm hoping it's a good moment and it carries on. But what's your thoughts from the whole season so far?
Well, firstly, you should try and get Eze on the podcast. That'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
We'll manifest that one as well. If there's two things to take away from this episode, we'll add that one in.
How do I feel about the season? I feel really good. It just makes me laugh how football can change so quickly, right? I still remember with the first 5 games in, everyone was looking and going, "Oh no, Arsenal not gonna. They're only 5 points off. What's going to happen? Like, what's Arteta going to say? What's the excuse going to be?" But we live in a world where, to be honest, I don't think a lot of people actually watch Arsenal. They just see the results and make their agenda or their narrative based on the result. If you've actually watched us this season, I think we've been consistently very good. What I mean by that there seems to be this, like I said, because of Liverpool's drop-off and then Arsenal won those games, it was like Arsenal the best team in the land, Arsenal head and shoulders above the rest. Actually, I think Arsenal have been very consistently very good throughout the start of the season. I know the Manchester United game people look at and think, it was quite defensive, but we went there and won it. But the games afterwards, Leeds, Liverpool, I actually have a little bit of sympathy for Arteta. Well, the City one I don't, so it's not all, I love Arteta, I do, but the City game, for example, but like Newcastle, you look at the scoreline 2-1 last minute, you think, oh my God, okay, you've nicked it. We absolutely dismantled them in the first half. We should have been 3-0 up. And you watch Manchester City go there and lose, and we put things like that. So I'm happy, very happy. I'm not going to lie, I think we're going to win it. I think we're very, very good. We've got an unbelievable team. I think Arsenal fans can't win. I think if you say you're an unbelievable side, then you get, this... You get criticised by saying, you believe your team too much, and then when you say, I don't think we're going to win it because we've been scarred by the past, then you get called you're a pessimist and you don't believe in your team. So you can't win. So anything you can do is say how you feel. I've been quite consistent. I think this team is unbelievable. I think the players are unbelievable. I mean, we talk about Tottenham, but we could talk about Eze and we could talk about, we battered them down the lane, which was unbelievable. But, people forget that no Gabriel in that team, no Odegaard in that team. You can argue there isn't a number 9 in that team. Mika Marino was unbelievable on Sunday, and I'm a massive fan of him, and I love the way he plays the game. But, he's not a traditional number 9. He's, he's a makeshift. He's better in midfield, although people now do think he's a number 9, so I don't really know. He's like a 9.5. But there's no excuses, there's no problems because of the players we've got. No Havertz, no Jesus in that team as well. Martinelli wasn't used. Madueke's come back, which is a big plus. So there's an abundance of talent in there. It's a great group of players, but we just have to get over the line. Football is beautiful. It can be brutal, but right now things can change. But I think we're very good, and Arteta. And this narrative, this thing about he's been in the job for 6 years, again, just really irates the life out of me.
Honestly.
Because when he was brought in 6 years ago, he wasn't brought in to win us the Premier League. He was brought in to get Arsenal back to being a club that we knew and the club that we always loved. But what it means to be Arsenal, and I'm not talking about the pitch, I'm talking about the day-to-day running of a football club, an institution like Arsenal, we needed to get that back. And how if you do that, and it was going to be painful, and he said that, and I think he... winning the FA Cup in the first 6 months of his tenure was incredible, but he knew how much work there was needed to be done. And luckily, we've given him time. I've always been quite staunch on my defence on Arteta, because it was only when I was at uni I was looking and thinking, where is this football club heading? What direction are we going to go into? Are we just going to be a big name that we used to be, or are we actually going to try and, reach for the top again, make his dream? And I think Arteta's done that, and I think he's been incredible. And I think, people look at the last 3 years of, I don't know, people are going to label it as bottling or whatever. I think it's all ludicrous, to be honest. We don't forget we took on a Manchester City treble-winning side that we weren't even in the Champions League. We'd finished fifth and gone to second, and then the season after we won more games than the Invincibles and broke club records and won 16 games and drew one and lost one in 2024. And I'm meant to believe that it's not getting over the line. I know Liverpool fans be like, we got 97 points and it's nothing about Liverpool, but this is an Arsenal podcast, so I'm going to talk about Arsenal. And last season, admittedly, we weren't good enough, fair enough. But I say that, we weren't good enough. We finished second in the league and got to a Champions League semi-final. And if we had maybe a couple of other players in there, maybe a Gabriel or a Havertz, we might be talking a lot differently. And that was in an era of negativity. So now that's what the levels are and the expectations are. Getting second to a Champions League semi-final, we feel like it's been a bit of a sad season. So that's the progress. And I don't understand this. Even in football, Luce, I just never understand this thing. We always talk about managers getting sacked straight away. I don't like the culture of it. I've never really subscribed to it. Unless it's just a real bad fit, where you come out and say something that doesn't work, and I can understand that. But when you've got a guy there that's not only he's played for the club, captained the club, understands everything about the football club, he's got the connection with the fans, understands the passion. I'm not even talking about the tactics on the pitch. I'm talking about everything else that brings football together that we talk about on this podcast. Yeah. Why on earth would I want to get rid of that for someone that could potentially... there's loads of managers out there that could potentially win it. So could Arteta. He's got us to this point in time. So if he can potentially win it, I'd rather keep the guy that's built us from the bottom up again, go and win it.
Honestly, what I find so funny is that we both work in the sports media industry, yet the media is the one that always says these narratives of Arteta in, Arteta out. Obviously, we don't create them, but I feel like when you're working in it, you sort of just see them all the time. And I just find it so stupid because I actually forget that at the start of the season, everyone was sort of questioning Arsenal a lot, and it's because we've just stayed like this throughout the whole thing. You've had City sort of start here, then they've sort of gone up a bit. I feel like Chelsea have sort of creeped out of nowhere, but Liverpool, their downfall is what everyone is talking about, and what everyone was talking about at the beginning, like, oh, can these last-minute winners be sustainable? That was literally, I remember on the Vision strap, obviously at TalkSport, I had to keep writing that, and the focus was so much on these other clubs that now Arsenal have sort of just carried on doing their thing. They haven't changed it since the start of the season, really. We've just got the squad depth, so then if we're without Saliba for a game, that's fine. We've got Mosquera. If we're out Gabriel, we've got Nketiah. Like, we've been able to cover all these positions and still feel confident. So I completely echo that Arteta in, Arteta out is just stupid. That narrative, like, I feel like I've spoken about on the pod quite a bit over this season, and I'm just like, I don't like how... Even take a look at Forest. They've had, 3 managers in the space of, I think it was like 5 weeks or something. That just doesn't make sense to me, because I'm like, you've got to trust these people, and yes, if they're not right for the job, I don't know why you're getting them in the first place if you really don't think they're going to be right. But I think with Arteta, everything he's doing, it seems to be working out to this moment, is what I'm hoping. You did sort of mention it there, like your hopes of the Premier League, but what do you think, what sort of silverware as a whole are you feeling like is realistic for Arsenal?
It's funny, we had this chat in the office yesterday. there's been this conversation, hasn't there, about Premier Champions League that's gone around a lot because of last season and just the work we've done behind the scenes and whether we can actually go and win, the Champions League. Look, I might upset a few people, but I'm firmly in the Premier League category. Very selfish reasons. I want that Prem, without making it about me. But the last time we won the Premier League was in 2004. I think I was 6 years old. So yes, I understood Arsenal won the Premier League. I didn't understand what they actually did in terms of the Invincibles at that moment in time. I've watched it a dozen times to understand just how impressive it's been. But I would like to live this. I think when you grow up and you hear your dad's mates and people say, oh, when he grows up and sees Arsenal win the Premier League and when he has his own version of winning the title and stuff. Well, I'm still waiting for that. So it's been a long wait. So I'd love to win it. I think it. Obviously the Champions League. I can understand why people think it's the pinnacle, but I just look at the Premier League and think. I think that will mean more for Arteta and the body of the work that he's done for the last 4 or 5 years, especially. I think we're very close. I think Arsenal's a massive club. It's a massive institution. I don't think we forget how I'm talking about global reach here, and I think people forget what it will be like. Well, look, I know people laugh, but I remember watching when we went to the Emirates and watched the beat Real Madrid 3-0. I remember coming out the Emirates then, and I remember being in the streets after the game, and I was like, I was a little bit taken aback because it's brilliant. That's what fans want. You want to celebrate. It's emotional, but I was looking around, I was like, flipping heck. This is a quarter-final for Champions League, and this is what is it going to be like if we win a major, if we win a trophy? The streets of London are going to be. And my favourite film is Fever Pitch. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it is about Arsenal, so please go and watch it.
Okay, I need to go watch that.
Please go and watch it. And I won't spoil it to you, but basically, it's all about the '89 season. But when they run down the streets of Highbury when Arsenal won the league, that's what I want to do this season. So I really want the league. It would be nice. It would be nice. Try not to get too carried away because, like I said, you never get too high, you can never get too low. But yeah, you definitely start to dream. Yeah,
I think it's people around us that don't people that don't support Arsenal basically are trying to make you not be excited, and I'm like, no, get excited. Yeah,
they're trying to deflect off their own football clubs. I can understand
literally.
That.
Even
but
Chelsea fans, I'm like, okay, obviously this game at the weekend coming up, that is a big game because that could push us 9 points ahead. So I'm like, yes, we need to win that. But even if we don't, we're still ahead. It's just can't afford as many slip-ups, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have to only listen to the narrative about the Sunderland result. Sunderland apparently they are a good side and they've been very good this season. And then all of a sudden, this is my point, City beat Liverpool. And it's all of a sudden, you've gone from the best team in the land to head and shoulders above the rest for one game. And then everyone's like, oh, look over your shoulder because City are back. And I was like, well, City aren't back based off one performance. They're not. Liverpool are very
7 points
poor.
Back, it's fine.
I mean, this is what I said. People forget that Manchester City had to go to Newcastle. I was like, okay, then we'll see. But that's my point. People just look at results and don't look at actual performances and narratives and agendas. That's my annoyance. It's even the questioning. You beat Spurs 4-1. Let's talk about the performance. Let's talk about the tactics. It's okay. Arsenal beating Spurs 4-1. Okay, so if you do not win the league from this position, I was like, okay, brilliant. So there's no credit. There's no nothing. It's if you don't win the league, which is nothing to do with what has just happened. We've just beaten Spurs 4-1 in the North London derby.
The narrative definitely is, oh, Spurs played really badly. And I'm like, no. Yeah, they weren't the best, but we also made them look bad. What did Arsenal do to make them look bad?
Played them off the park, broke them down, different positions. Credit to Arteta. Again, elite coaching, but again, no one really mentioned that. But, and that's it. I think this team is very good. And it's, and also thing with your managers, it's your culture, right? I've grown up, I grew up with think about it, I was born in 1998. Arsene Wenger joined in 96. He left in 2018, which was my first year of university, coming to the end of my first year. So if you think about that from a Arsenal Humans point of view, I've had the same manager in my life for 20 years. So that's quite mad to think that from the day I was born to the day I went to ended my first year of university, I grew up with the same football manager. Other clubs like Chelsea have had more managers than hot dinners. So it's culture. It depends where you fit, and I can understand that because you're born into something and you understand it from a different lens, and that's why football's so great because it's full of opinions. But even when we sacked Unai Emery, You know, I remember being in that Southampton game when Lacazette scored that last-minute equaliser, and I've never been in a stadium like it. Like, no one really knew what to do. It's last-minute equaliser. People are celebrating, people are not, people are just confused. We should have lost 4-1, so it doesn't even feel like it's a point game. Yeah, it was crazy. But at that moment in time, I think we were sort of like 8 points off top four, but we were 8 points clear of the relegation zone. We were firmly not, I don't think in position wise, but we were technically mid-table because we were literally looking up and down. I didn't know where to look. So even when they sacked him, even though there was a clear, the trust had been broken and what have you, I was still surprised we kind of sacked him because it's not what we do. So Arteta, when he even struggled in his first period, I was adamant they wouldn't sack him, and I was adamant they shouldn't sack him because we had different players from the Wenger era, from the Emery era, and he had to go in, and there was young players coming through at the time. I was like, the squad is it's a mess. It needs to clear out. It needs his vision, his philosophy, and it's funny how you look back now, and we had Kieran Tierney, who was wonderful for us, and Takehiro Tomiyasu, and I remember watching that team in 21-22, and I was thinking, this is a great team, and then 22-23 is a new team, and then 23-24 is a new team, and then now it's a new team, and people forget that this is a new team, and it's and I always say this, probably the best way to end it is we haven't won the Premier League in the last 5 years. We haven't, and we haven't won it since 2004, like we've mentioned. But when Saliba wants to sign a new contract, when Gabriel wants to sign a new contract and signs a new contract, when Bukayo Saka is close to signing a new contract, when Jurriën Timber is in contract negotiations, when Declan Rice is apparently next on the list to extend a new contract, you have to ask yourself, and you see what Declan Rice said earlier in the week about don't judge him now, judge him when he's finished because he will win everything. So you have to understand why on earth are these players staying at Arsenal Football Club if they don't believe it's the place to win, and there is no trophies to show behind that. So it's because the manager is very good. They look around the team, they look around the changing room, they look around the connection with the fans and things, this is something special here. And give it time. And also, the funny thing is, who's to say it's... There feels to be such finality about it. We have to win it. We have to win it. I can understand because people think that Liverpool will come back and City will come back, and maybe Newcastle might be stronger in the future or whatever. Man United might be, come back. I get that. Maybe Chelsea as well. But this team is still relatively very young.
Yeah.
It isn't like, oh my god, if we don't win it, they're all going to leave and they're all going to. Yeah, it's harder. Yeah, it's like doing your driving test. The more times you try and take your driving test and pass it, the harder it becomes. But just for either way, I do think we'll win it, and I do think we're very close to winning it. But like I said, only takes us one bad week in the Premier League, and then you're looking over your shoulder. So just enjoy it.
No, 100%, 100%.
And then tomorrow as well is like a beautiful game against Bayern Munich, and if we make I say make a statement because I've heard that you need to do a podcast on football cliches. That's what you need to do.
And I'll just have you as the voice.
Yeah,
of it.
Make a statement. Every game's a statement in my eyes. You've just to win it. But if we win, it breeds a lot of confidence going into Chelsea, and it's a really big week. And then Brentford and then Villa, and it's the Christmas period. And then if you can, again, football's not played on paper. There's another cliche. But you'd like to think Brentford at home it's very tough. Keith Andrews is doing a really good job. But if you want to win the Premier League, your home games you have to win. And then Villa is away. It's a tough game. But again, you Wolves and Everton and Brighton. So you're looking at that Christmas period and you think, if you can get through this, the Bayern and the Chelsea game, you're looking at that block of 5 games, include Crystal Palace in the Cup in that as well, and Champions League away at Bruges. But you have to look at that and think, if you want to be serious about winning the league and pulling away, then you have to be looking at that thinking that's maximum points. And then, you go into the new year and you could have a really sizable gap. And then you've got Liverpool on the 8th of Jan, and, all of a sudden you could be playing Liverpool and you could be looking to, I don't know how that... I do think it will turn around eventually. I don't know if it's too little too late because they're 11 points behind. But if you do win that game, it could be 11 points, or it could be, still there might be a gap, but it could even be more. Then you know that by January, Liverpool are definitely out of it. But still, technically, I can't work out what's going on. I don't want to rule them out of it just yet.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I do think something will click. City are great, but they have got a very big problem. And when Haaland doesn't score, there is a body of work and evidence to understand that when he doesn't score, they are struggling. So, yeah, the beauty of all of this is up to us because we're in control of it. We're not relying on anyone. We're relying on ourselves. So go out, win football matches.
Which is like probably the best and worst place, because then you've got all the pressure on your shoulders. But I feel like everything you're saying, like, it's so true. Even at the start of this episode, you were saying how people would say you're articulate, you've got the knowledge, everything. I think that was the perfect way to just prove that you know what you're talking about, basically. And also just to stay calm, because I feel like people can go so delusional, or people can just be really like, oh, pessimistic. And I think it's nice to just have that calm balance. Like, it's in our hands right now. I'm hoping that we can have that parade. I'm sure Arsenal will be like packed out. I mean, I'm still trying to like get that experience again from when the women won the Champions League in the summer, and we obviously had that amazing feeling at the Emirates, but then also with the parade after. So I hope that the men can replicate something along the lines of that and have that, because I just feel like the atmosphere would be good, like you were saying.
Can I quickly ask you about the women's side?
Yeah, of course.
I think the easy question would be like, what's going on? But what is going on? Because
we're just flipping. See, this is the double L. By the way, if you've just tuned in, this is double L now.
I'd like, because I see part of the game against Tottenham, and it's probably a disappointment when it's a derby. You don't win a derby, but there just seems to be something that's not quite right in the league at the moment. Whether it's I don't know if it is a Champions League hangover. But then you've got Alicia Russo, who's still in really good form.
Yeah.
There seems to be just, I don't know.
I do feel like that is the question, like what is going on with them, because there's so many different answers. I mean, if you look back to the Champions League, that was like an emergency team. Like, we had so much controversy with Jonas Edeval, the previous manager. He then got fired after, I don't know if you saw it said like Jonas out even on the walls at Emirates. Like, it was caused so much controversy and outrage, which was quite nice to see the passion from the fans. Then we got Slagers in, who was like an interim manager that then became full-time. And that was so good, and it was a good temporary fix for that Champions League with the players we had. Don't know how we did it. I think everyone's still so shocked. Like, we just put everything, our hearts on the line. And then now almost all the fans are expecting us to win the WSL, to win everything, because we won that. So I think it is so, almost with like, say if we go back, I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but say if we go back when Arteta first joined, he won a bit of silverware within the first 6 months. Everyone then had that expectation, and now even 5 years on, we're like, oh, he's rubbish, he's done nothing. That's what a lot of fans are saying. Obviously we're not, but like a lot of fans are jumping to those conclusions. I don't think it will get to that point of 4 or 5 years down the line, because we do have the depth in the squad. I think it's just learning to play for each game rather than over 2 legs. That sort of seems to be the difficulty right now with Slagers, I'd say. But yeah, it is a big question.
Because it's so much talent, and obviously when you spend £1 million on Olivia Smith, who I've seen some of her highlights.
But then she's not always starting
and not always fit, and then
that's issues. But
going forward as well, you've still got the likes of Beth Mead, Blackstonius, Mariola Candente's in our midfield, right? So like, there is so much talent in there, but it just and also Chelsea have had a little bit of a wobble recently with draws, and Manchester City are now top. But we don't seem to be challenging for the title. But then that's the thing, and it's just interesting you say that, because there might be it might be more work needed behind the squad than we realised, and obviously missed, Liam Williamson's missed, pretty much a big chunk of the season as well, right? And Katie Reid's now out with an ACL, and that's not great. And so hopefully, maybe they're just saving their eggs to return the Champions League. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean,
even then, the Bayern Munich result wasn't. I
was gonna say, I think even the form within that competition hasn't been what we want. But luckily, with the new league format, I'm hoping that as long as we get through, then it's more just it becomes back to the format that we know Slagers is good at, with the 2 games that decide it basically. So as long as we get through to that point, which I have no doubt that we should be able to do that. So I do feel like with the men and women, they've got definitely different aims this season. But like you said, I'm just hoping that at least at the end we can have some form of parade or something to celebrate, because I know we're only halfway through the season, but it does seem to be, especially for the men, in terms of the league, it does seem to be quite positive. So I'm very excited about that. I'm just conscious of time that we've actually been yapping for like a while. So I just want to end the podcast with quick fire questions, basically.
I'll answer them quickly. Don't worry.
So see if you, I was going to say, if you want to elaborate. It's down to you. Okay, number 1. Who's been your summer signing?
Ooh. Oh,
Quick
I'll have
fire,
to
yeah.
go. Oof. Said quickly. Okay, summer signing this season. Oh, that's harsh. Because he's just got a hat trick in the North London derby. I'm gonna have to go with Martin Zubimendi still. Yeah, his first name that comes to my head. He's actually probably arguably my player of the season. So I know it's hard to look at the defence, but what he's done in that midfield to come and play different positions, you see it on Sunday. He's at the start. He's at the base of it. He's furthest forward. He's definitely given us a new dimension, and I think him and Declan Rice have been terrific actually. So yeah, Martin Zubimendi for me.
100. I'd echo that as well because I think what he's allowed Rice to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not quick fire. We've just completely gone off that, but definitely what he allows him to do. And also, I think the defense need more credit. Like a tackle should get just as much credit as a goal does, in my opinion, because it could stop a goal in a way. Second one is if you could meet any Arsenal player, who would it be?
If I say the name, is he going to like appear or something? Or
Yeah, I've actually got him. It just depends who actually.
if Thierry Henry there, I've got two. But Thierry Henry and Ian Wright. I feel like I need to sit down and chat to Uncle Righty about football.
Sadly, those two couldn't actually be here today, so I'm sorry about that. Well, next time though.
Okay, fine. Yeah, perfect.
I'm sure we can work on that. The third question: dream role in the industry. I feel like we touched on it a little bit earlier.
Let's play quick fire. Let's say talk football 5 days a week, and let's say being then part of the Arsenal day on match day, and then having a Sunday off if we're not playing. That is. Let's just say that for now. But Arsenal's involved. Football's
Manifest
involved.
it.
Yeah, why not? Believe it.
You've been to a lot of home and away games, so what has been your favourite stadium you've ever been to?
Oh, good question. I love going to St James's Park. I love going to St James's Park. It's really, really good stadium. I know it's a nightmare for away fans to be up in there in the gods, but I always do. Even though we haven't had a particularly good record, and this was the first time I watched us. In fact, this season was the first time I watched us score, let alone win. I think I'd been there 3 times and we hadn't scored. So, yeah. And also, like I know it's, but Old Trafford is when you go, it is a nice stadium. Underrated stadium. Just quickly, cup games because I like to do little Carabao Cup journeys. Went to Preston. It's a nice stadium there.
Ooh.
Yeah, deep dive. It's a very, very. It's a really, really.
I did not have that on my bingo card.
It's like if you love history and you love football, then it's like it's a decent stadium. That it's really nice. Yeah. So yeah, but that's quick fire though.
I think I need to check that one out. And the last question: can Arsenal win the Premier League?
Yes, they will.
So that was only actual quick fire answer.
Actually. Sorry, I'm thinking about stadiums now. No, I'm thinking about stadiums because, like, obviously European. Because I went to Bilbao, that's a great stadium. Went to the Allianz as well. So I was thinking more English stadiums, but yeah, some of the European ones have obviously been incredible. But yeah, no, but definitely Premier League, Newcastle springs to mind straight away. In fact, yeah, been to all of them.
I need to. I've not been to St James's Park, but I feel like I need to.
Yeah,
I just feel like the Geordie atmosphere. I feel like the fans are so fun anyway, so I feel like being in that stadium would be quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're not in the Premier League now, but Leicester's a good away day. It's a great stadium. Nice little 3,000 away. That's good. I'm trying to think.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you have a think. If you want to,
just do another podcast.
Say them, then yeah, we could save that for another episode because honestly, I feel like we spoke about so much yet. Probably only the last 20 minutes have actually been about Arsenal, but I really like that. And yeah, I really appreciate you joining me, Luke. So if there's anywhere that you'd like people to go to find you, obviously we've mentioned a few things you're doing. If you want anyone to follow you socials, anything like that.
Oh, look, it's time to plug the socials.
You got to big yourself. This is where you can give yourself credit because I feel like you don't normally. So this is where you can do it.
At Luke Henry 98 is my Instagram. If you want to see what I get up to. Don't waste your time.
And you base it, to be fair, you add links when you're on there anyway. So I'll put that in the description below on YouTube.
You're quite good, actually. Yeah, you're quite good because you actually take photos of me when I'm not expecting it and then put it on your story and then I add it. So that's great. That's very kind of you. And then my Twitter is Luke_Henry1, I think. Yeah, it sounds about right.
Or it's pronounced Henry. It's actually however you want to say it. You know?
I get called Luke Henry now, which is great. So if we need to track Thierry down so I can actually have a chat to him and then we can be Henry by name, Henry by name. That'd be a great partnership, wouldn't he? What's better than one Henry? Yeah. 2 Henrys. So yeah.
Thierry Henry. No, it's not got the same vibe. You can't. You've got to both stick with Henry, actually.
Yeah.
Saying that. Well, if anyone's got any contacts that's listening to Spotify or watching on YouTube, then let us know, because we'd love to make this partnership happen, this meeting happen, and we can record it live on Arsenal Humans podcast. So I'm sure we can manifest this one.
We might have to find a location for that.
That's true.
I'll
That's
sort that
very
out.
true. We'll see.
I'll get my people to speak to your people.
Yeah, exactly. It will work. It will work someday. But no, I really appreciate you joining me. And I appreciate you being so open with everything, like your journey from working in the industry, becoming a fan, talking about the squad right now. Like, I feel like this episode has had a bit of everything.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. And yeah, if anyone's new to this, I hope this is a good first episode for you to get into this podcast. If you want to subscribe, if you want to follow, obviously it's free to do. There's no pressure though. Please do. But yeah, would appreciate that. But yeah, that's what I have
great
to say.
work.
So.
It's difficult to do this and carry on when you've got a full-time job as well. So good work. It's a great concept. It's a great podcast.
So on that note, I guess we'll just end it there.